Welcome to Fox Car Report. I'm Gary Gastelou. It is the most anticipated car show in the history of the internet. So thanks for watching. But, you know, there's a new one on Amazon that you might also be interested in. It's called The Grand Tour, and it's brought to you by the same folks that used to bring you Top Gear on the BBC before Joey Tribbiani took over that show. With me in the studio today are the hosts of the Top Gear, at least two of them, Richard Hammond, and from your Twitter account, Mr. James May.
Don't forget the Mr.
No, it's not. It's because there was already a James May on there pretending to me. It was a bit nasty, actually, so I had to have him shut down.
But we call him Mr. James May. We call him Mr. James.
I find that hard to believe. I haven't seen that on the show. Now, the show, by the way, Amazon just announced its biggest premiere ever. I got to imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
you feel pretty good?
Yeah, we were nervous, and that's good and healthy, and we should be. But we were, as we got closer to the launch day, yeah, we were getting pretty scared. I watched it from behind the sofa. And the initial response on social media was
fantastic.
Just amazing. Just wave after wave of positivity.
Embarrassingly good.
Thank you. Yeah, but don't stop.
No, yeah, thank you.
And then the subsequent, I mean, the IMDb ratings is at
9.8.
Yeah, which is just insanely high.
This is good stuff.
97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Which
Now, this is
very good.
These are the reviews for the first episode.
Yeah.
That's the only one on there so far.
Yeah.
In a very un-internety way, you're releasing these once a week. No binge watching allowed, at least until the whole season's up.
Two reasons.
Yes.
It's about control, isn't it? But also that we're old, and also that we didn't have it already.
Yeah, it's not finished.
But that's people. That's how we build our shows to be watched, and we always have. I think delivering them weekly it felt like the right way for us to do it. Whether time will tell that we could do it differently, I don't know. But for us, letting them drop weekly felt like the right way to do it.
Now, I've seen the first episode. It's familiar?
Be nice.
Perhaps?
Well, it's got us three in it.
What was the big idea when you got back together about what you were going to do this time around? Was it more...
There are things we can't take, and we wanted to rethink.
You're not allowed to talk about male chickens for some reason, I understand.
Male chickens, yes, I can.
But, yes.
That's a bit of a myth. I'll say it now if you want.
No, maybe not.
Right, okay. But yeah, we wanted to refresh it a bit, but we accept that, you know, we are slightly stuck in our way of doing things, and people like us doing things that way. So it is familiar, but it has some subtle differences that actually have quite a big effect, like the roving tent, the size of the audience is localised, that sort of thing, and that actually makes it feels quite different to do, even though it
does. It felt really strange. First time we're in the tent because it's us four with Andy Willman, the producer. So very, very familiar, but then slightly different. It's like changing the controls around on your car a bit. So just swapping clutch and brake pedal or something, and it isn't quite. It's
a little dramatic, actually.
Well, it doesn't make you think, though. That's the thing. It made us think about it, which is good.
And it forced a reinvention on us, which is absolutely the best thing. That's really great fun because we used to take great pleasure and pride, didn't we, when people would say, "What's the secret to the old show's success?" And we'd always, "Oh, I don't know. It just sort of happened." Well, now we've got to work it out. This time it's on purpose. So we've got to really think it through, and it's been great fun.
Still huge, still very cinematic, probably even more so. The opening sequence cost over $3 million.
I know the numbers go up every time somebody guesses, but it was a lot. Yeah, the whole thing is shot on 4K, which is the first time, I think, a factual...
It's the first factual 4K show, yes.
And then to shoot it in 4K, travelling around the world to film the segments, and then to travel around the world with the tent as the studio. If you're not familiar with the format, it used to be based in a studio, static, but now we've effectively taken the studio with us around the world. We're based in a tent. That tent itself has to have special floors for the cameras to roll about on, and lighting rigs and sound rigs, and it's got to be plumbed in for 4K.
It's not a tent in the sense that most people would say tent.
No, you wouldn't carry it on your back.
No, you couldn't get it in your car.
It takes a week to put up.
You used to be part of a big global broadcasting organization with tentacles everywhere in the world.
Still are.
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
Now you're part of a big global commercial organization, which I'm sure has tentacles everywhere too. But was it more of a challenge, or you're more on your own now, producing the show, getting into odd places and that sort of thing?
Well, part of when we were at the BBC, and remember we grew within the BBC, we started off as a poker car show, and we turned into something, how we don't know, but something very big and rather global. But being in the BBC is a little bit like sort of being at sixth form college, high school, as you would say. That a lot of the boring, difficult stuff is sorted out for you. When we started again, we had to make our own production company to make this thing that Amazon had commissioned. And it started off, as Richard Hammond will tell you, with a stationery cupboard that he guarded very jealously.
That's all we had. All we had was some pens and some pads in a cupboard. Yeah, I mean, James is right. It was like sort of coming out into the real world, which meant there was an awful lot of the ordinary stuff that we had to do editorially. It hasn't made that much difference in terms of control and interference. No, we've always gone our own way with it. But I think what it has resulted in is a much intensified sense of ownership. And we're using the same crews, so not production necessarily, they're by and large new, apart from a few key players. But the boys and girls working with us on the ground, with cameras, sound, etc., they're the same. We've worked with them for 14 years. And amongst them, the sense of ownership is palpable when we're filming, right down to the lowliest camera assistant who's abused and made to carry stuff around all day. They feel this is ours now, this is our show, and that's great.
Who do you make the show for? Is it the car enthusiast, or is it the person sitting on the couch next to the car
make
enthusiast?
it for us.
We sort of make it for ourselves, and that sounds fantastically conceited and a bit selfish, but it's not meant to sound like that. What we do is we know what makes the subject of cars and driving generally accessible, entertaining, funny, self-deprecating, so we simply do that, and people come along for the ride. I think if we started saying we will make this show, even if we were very broad and say we will make an American show or whatever, you'd cringe when you watched it, because we wouldn't be able to...
But that Top Gear was a BBC show, so it did have that British perspective to it.
But we're British.
Has that changed?
No,
at all
we're
since
still
the
Brits
show?
travelling the world.
Yeah, we can't help being British. We can apologise for it a lot, but it's just this is the way we are.
And when you
So-
talk about who's it made for, there's never been any sort of cynical sit-down, scientifically analyse, if we do a bit of this for this kind of person and that demographic we can hit with it. We've never done that. We've only ever done, let's make what is, in our eyes, the best car show we possibly can. We're car geeks. You don't necessarily have to be one to watch it because it plumbs into something that is inherent in the car. The very fact that we all speak car. We all know the difference between a Ferrari and a van delivering your papers. We know that much, even if you're not interested in them.
You do have an American on the cast, though, your new test driver, Mike. He's not just an American. He's from the South. He raced in NASCAR. He raced pickup trucks in NASCAR. Is he someone you'd met or worked with before? How'd you come across him?
Then
we sort of auditioned, didn't we?
But he totally fit the bill. We came up with the idea, we want this character, this driver, it's got to be good.
It's got to be American, because that's a sort of nod to our paymasters, if you like.
And the role is, it's got to be somebody who has his own particular views, and Mike does. It's great. So he just is perfect. It was sort of, if we'd drawn who we want for that role, it would be Mike Skinner.
You got 12 episodes this season. Any particular one that's really going to stand out that you think people should keep an eye out for?
I think honestly that the opening, which you alluded to earlier, the expensive opening, that is probably the most extravagant, showbizy thing we've done.
I don't know, because in some of the films...
Well, you're actually right, thinking about the next...
exactly, the next one to drop.
Some of it is
We've got
lunacy.
a bit crazy.
We've got a bit
we
mad.
got carried away, but that's good. We've always done that. Andy Willman, our producer, spent a lot of his life standing in front of the bosses of the BBC, staring at his shoes and apologising for overspending and going too far. And now we have to apologise to ourselves, but we had to make it... We had to make it as good as we could. I'm not over-promising here. It's still just three middle-aged goofballs messing about in cars. But we had to... There was a real feeling that, look, if people are going to come and follow us, then we have to give them the best we can do, which is why we were so anxious when it first went live, because if you've just phoned it in and you hope people like it, that's one thing. If you've, at anything, given it everything you've got, worked as hard as you can, and that's not just it's everybody in the team. If you've done that, you're actually very vulnerable, because what you're saying is this is about as good as we can do. And when you're judged on that, it's quite nerve-wracking. The thing will morph and change and improve. There'll be learning from this season to take into the next. Of course there will. And we have to try stuff. We have to try new things. It'll be a wasted opportunity. And some of it people will not like and it'll fall away. Some of it we'll reinvent. But as long as we're at all times going, right, this is we're working to the max, it's about as good as we can do, then that's as much as we can do for it.
Now, along with the show... sorry.
I was going to say, we were, in a sense, we were being sort of slightly cocky with what we did, because we said we are big enough to survive ourselves with this thing that we can do. And that did make it nerve-wracking, because we set ourselves up for a fall. I always say to my other mates who do completely different jobs in sort of business and technology, I say to them, nobody outside of your immediate colleagues know exactly what you do at work or how good or bad you are at it. We're effectively saying, look how good we are at this, and we're setting ourselves up in front of the whole world for everybody to say, no, actually, you're rubbish.
And they can turn it off midway because it's streaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is entirely
And
true.
you know that they turned it off because it's right there.
It tells you.
But, I mean, the response, which is why we were so closely watching the response when the first one dropped last week, and that wave after wave, because it's not a scheduled linear channel, so things people watch whenever they want. It's great now, because if you turn on your social media, there's always another little wave lapping up of... I'm not sounding big-headed, I hope. I'm not saying, oh, aren't we brilliant? But the fact is, we're still really excited that we keep getting all these positive comments. People are enjoying what we've made for them.
You have to remember as well that no one is more baffled than us by how well it's worked, and the fact that we're still doing it. It's remarkable.
I mean, it really is the only big car show, truly big car show ever.
Yeah, it's the only one I think that's gone beyond the real tight-knit...
Transcendent, can you say?
Oh, steady. No, I can't say transcendent. I'll probably fall off the chair. But it has transcended the usual boundaries of a car-specific show. Yeah, but if you think about it, cars do. We're all involved with them. We all
whether you like it or not.
Exactly right. Yeah. Even if some people drive willfully unappealing cars, and effectively they're trying to signal to the world, I don't like cars. You're still engaging with them. You're still using them to tell the world something about yourself.
Yes, you can't not say something about yourself with your car, the same as you can't not say something with your clothes. I've made that sentence more complicated than it needed to be.
You can't not say, you can't say anything.
You can't, yes,
it's always.
You can't say nothing. That's what I mean. And also, I mean, without wishing to sound pretentious and lit-crit about it, we are a car show. We all love the subject, and we're very into it, and even, dare I say, mildly knowledgeable about it. But we are, to a certain extent, also producing a car-themed circus, and we often make the car a bit of a laughingstock. We're quite happy to take a step back and say the whole thing is ridiculous, because in many ways it is.
And along with the show, you've got another project, separate from the show, called DriveTribe.com. New website, which I should mention, 21st Century Fox is an investor and a parent company of this network.
Yes, thank you.
What is different about DriveTribe from the roughly 13 or 14 trillion other automotive websites?
The very fact,
on the internet?
Well, the very fact.
Other than you being involved.
Well, actually, I mean, that's a great place to start, because what made our previous show different than this new one, hopefully, why did it achieve that incredibly broad demographic? And cars, whilst they matter to all of us very much in different ways and with different degrees of intensity, it's that difference that's made it always impossible to pull people together. If somebody on Pebble Beach is looking at some incredible piece of kit, or there's somebody at home who's modified his old Toyota, they both would describe themselves as car fanatics, but they're very different people. We are quite useful as a way of pulling that together, but the site itself is about people expressing exactly that. It's tribal. Drive Tribe. You join, you start a tribe, or you join tribes. Rather than individuals, you find the things about cars that you particularly like, whether it's old BMWs or air-cooled engines, whatever. There will always be somebody running a tribe, and you can then share content, posts, videos, pictures, or just exchange with them.
It is. I mean, I think the root of what we hope will make it work very well is that it is essentially social media. It's a very sophisticated form of it. You can have, you know, long-form articles, you can have illustrated stories and video and all these other things on it, but it is based, as Hammond says, around subject, and it can be very specific subjects. If it's, I don't know, antique British racing car toolkits, there will be some other people in the world who are also interested in that. That's not one of mine.
Possibly not many, but there will be some.
It doesn't matter that there aren't many, because the important thing is they will be brought together by it. So it's social media, but it's content-based rather than person-based. One of the problems with Twitter, for a lot of people using it, is that they're only followed by 2 or 3 people, and they don't feel that they can have that much input. But with DriveTribe, it's incredibly democratic, really. Anybody can join in, anybody can start a tribe. You can even sort of have a bloodless coup and take over an existing one.
And the
it's all about the subject.
The digital publishing aspect of it means content will find its way to people, and find its way to the right people. So that means twofold advantages. One, you're always on your stream seeing a load of the kinds of things that you will like because they're around your subject. And 2, your own content. If you come up with something, a long-form article, and there's some incredible stuff being done already, we're not launched yet, that will find appeal with people, or it might even just be a short, snappy comment and a funny photograph.
You mentioned there's all these different tribes in the car world, but that said, is the Subaru guy from Vermont different than the Subaru guy from Sweden?
I don't know, we'll find that out.
That's exactly what
we'll discover that. I don't know, it'll show that up, won't it?
Yes.
Let's see. I think, and again, watching that process is part of the enjoyment to be had from it. Just looking at who is engaging with who and what and why and when will be really interesting.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Can I hit you with a quick clickbait quiz, though, here at the end?
Let's do a little go on.
What's it about? Is it about cars?
You're caught on a desert island. You get to bring one car with you.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind there's probably no roads on a desert island and only that one tank of gas. What are you going to pay?
G-Wagon, AMG one, 63. Yeah.
Although a Transit would double as a hut once it ran out of gas.
Oh, you see, just being too practical. I want to go on a bright yellow AMG G-Wagon.
Different question for you. You're a well-known, internationally known tinkerer. One car to work on for the rest of your life, but you can never drive it.
I've just
But
got
you
a set
never
of
drive
tools
it.
that I can fiddle with it. Well, I think I'd have to take something quite complicated then. I assume I'm going to be on this desert island for many decades, all on my own. I'll take something like that Babs record car with the aero engine in it. A lot of bits and a lot of things to adjust in there.
One last question before we go. Brexit, President Trump.
Yeah.
Are these things good for car enthusiasts? Or
Come on, you can't hit me with a question like that at the end. Honestly, I don't, good for car enthusiasts. I don't know. The car industry is another question. The car industry is undergoing such a fundamental sea change at the moment, apart from anything else, makes it for us incredibly exciting because it's been a long time since car makers have been afforded the opportunity to make colossal and hilarious mistakes. So whether it's good or bad, I don't know. The thing is going through change and will do that regardless, won't it? Cars will reinvent and continue.
I don't think Brexit will actually materially affect car enthusiasts and car enthusiasm in Britain in the short term. In the long term, if it affects what you can actually buy, how much it costs, maybe, but nobody knows what that is. Nobody knows how to do Brexit. It may be too difficult.
We're not in
It
charge.
is.
It's with the wrong Hammond and May, just so you know.
Yeah, there is a Hammond and May, but it's not
It's
us.
not us.
We're the blokes who do the silly car show.
And you'll be doing it for the next 3 years. I
Yeah.
believe that's long the contract is, so we'll see how this all shapes together. Comes together in the car world. Richard Hammond, Mr. James May, thanks so much for dropping by.
Well, thanks
Really
for having me.
appreciate
Thanks
it. If they do anything particularly ridiculous, which they've been known to do in the past, you can be certainly sure to find it on autos.foxnews.com. Thanks for watching, and check out the Grand Tour on Amazon when you can.